Welcome to the Fearful Fright series, where we will be reading with our favorite green ghoul, Grimmer. Now sit back and enjoy this twisted tale. Today our story is called The Girl in the White Costume. Every town has a story people whisper about once October comes around. In the small town of Blackridge, Ohio, the story was about Willow Lane. Parents avoided it on Halloween night. Kids dared each other to walk past it. And if someone asked why, the older people always gave the same answer. Because that's where Emily Hart disappeared. Most people thought it was just another ghost story. 16-year-old Claire Bennett thought so too. Until Halloween night. Until she met the girl in white. The cold arrived early that year. Dead leaves scraped across sidewalks like dry fingers, and fog rolled low through the streets of Blackridge as kids in costumes wandered from house to house beneath glowing porch lights. Claire adjusted the strap on her pumpkin candy bag and checked her phone. 8:17 p.m. Her best friend Ava had cancelled at the last second because of the flu, leaving Claire to trick or treat alone for the first time since middle school. Just 1 hour, Claire muttered to herself. Then I'm going home. She wore a black witch costume with silver stars sewn into the sleeves. Nothing fancy. She mostly came out because Halloween in Blackridge felt important. Like skipping it would somehow offend the town itself. Laughter echoed from nearby streets. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked wildly. Claire moved house to house, collecting candy while the wind sharpened and the fog thickened. That was when she noticed the girl standing at the end of Maple Street. She looked about Claire's age. Long pale blonde hair. White dress. No jacket despite the freezing cold. A porcelain mask covered the upper half of her face. Claire slowed. The girl stood perfectly still beneath a flickering street lamp. Not moving. Not speaking. Just watching. Claire almost walked the other direction. Then the girl lifted one hand and waved. Something about her seemed sad. Lonely. Claire walked closer. Hey, she said nervously. Cool costume. The girl tilted her head slightly. Thank you, she answered softly. Her voice sounded strange. Like an old recording played too slowly. Claire smiled awkwardly. You out here alone too? The girl nodded. My friends left. That sucks. A gust of icy wind swept down the street. Claire shivered. The girl didn't react at all. What's your name? Claire asked. The girl hesitated. Lillian. I'm Claire. For a moment neither spoke. Then Lillian pointed down the street. There's better houses this way. Claire looked toward Willow Lane. Even with the Halloween decorations, the street looked wrong somehow. Dark. Too dark. Most of the houses had no lights on at all. You mean down there? Claire asked. Lillian nodded slowly. They give the best candy. Claire laughed nervously. Looks kinda dead. Lillian's expression didn't change. It is. Something about the way she said it made Claire uneasy. But she didn't want to seem childish. So she followed. The farther they walked down Willow Lane, the quieter the world became. No children. No music. No laughter. Only the crunch of leaves under their shoes. Claire noticed many of the houses looked abandoned. Windows boarded shut. Porches sagging. One yard contained an old swing moving back and forth by itself. Squeak. 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 There's seriously nobody out here, Claire whispered. Lillian kept walking. You hear that? Claire asked. Hear what? That squeaking. Lillian stopped. The swing. Yeah. It moves every Halloween. Claire forced a laugh. Okay, now you're trying to creep me out. Lillian turned toward her slowly. I'm not trying. Claire suddenly wished she'd stayed home. But before she could say anything else, they arrived at a large Victorian house at the end of the street. It towered over the others. 3 stories tall. Rotting black wood. Windows like empty eyes. An orange light glowed faintly upstairs. Claire frowned. That place looks condemned. Lillian stared at the house silently. Then she smiled. It was the first emotion Claire had seen from her all night. My home, Lillian whispered. The front gate creaked open on its own. Claire stopped walking. Okay. No offense, but I'm not going in there. You don't have to. Lillian pointed toward the porch. Just knock. Claire swallowed hard. Every instinct told her to leave. But another part of her, the embarrassed teenage part, didn't want to admit she was scared. So she climbed the porch steps. The wood groaned beneath her feet. Up close, the house smelled damp. Rotten. Like mold and wet dirt. Claire raised her hand and knocked 3 times. Thunk. 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 Nothing happened. Then slowly. The door creaked open by itself. Darkness waited inside. Cold air drifted out carrying a horrible smell. Claire stepped back immediately. Nope. Lillian stood behind her now. Closer than before. Way closer. Claire hadn't even heard her move. You should go in, Lillian whispered. Claire's chest tightened. I think I'm gonna head home. Lillian's head tilted unnaturally far to one side. But you came with me. The porch light flickered. For a split second, Claire saw something behind Lillian's mask. Not skin. Not eyes. Just darkness. Deep black emptiness. Claire stumbled backward. Okay, seriously, this isn't funny. Then she heard movement inside the house. Slow footsteps. Dragging across wood. Someone was coming. Claire turned toward the doorway. An old woman emerged from the darkness. Except, something was horribly wrong with her. Her face looked swollen and gray. Her eyes were milky white. And her mouth stretched too wide when she smiled. Trick. Or, treat, the woman rasped. Claire froze. The woman lifted a bowl of candy. Inside were old blackened pieces covered in flies. Claire backed down the porch steps. I need to go. The old woman stopped smiling instantly. You entered the lane, she whispered. You stay. The front door slammed shut behind her with a boom. Every light on Willow Lane suddenly turned on at once. One by one. Windows glowing yellow. Silhouettes appearing inside them. Watching. Claire's breathing quickened. Lillian. But the girl was gone. The street behind her stood empty. Then Claire heard giggling. Children giggling. All around her. She turned. Figures now stood across the lawns and sidewalks. Dozens of children in old-fashioned Halloween costumes. Pumpkin masks. Animal masks. Blank white faces. Every single one staring directly at her. None of them moved. None blinked. Claire ran. She sprinted down Willow Lane while cold wind howled behind her. The children began walking after her slowly. Not running. Walking. But somehow getting closer. Claire's heart pounded violently. She reached the end of the street. And stopped cold. Maple Street was gone. In its place stood only endless fog. No, 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 no. Behind her came the sound of dozens of footsteps. Crunch. 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 Claire turned. The children now stood only 20 feet away. Lillian stood at the front of them. Mask removed. Claire nearly screamed. The upper half of Lillian's face was missing. Just scorched bone and darkness. Burn marks crawled across her skin. One cloudy eye hung loose in its socket. You shouldn't have come here, Lillian whispered sadly. Claire backed away trembling. What are you? Lillian stared at her. We were forgotten. Then the other children began speaking too. All at once. Different voices overlapping. They forgot us. They left us. They never found us. The sound became deafening. Claire covered her ears. What do you want from me? Lillian pointed toward the Victorian house. To remember. Suddenly Claire saw flashes in her mind. Fire. Smoke. Children screaming. Doors chained shut. Parents outside yelling helplessly. The Victorian house burning in the middle of Halloween night decades earlier. Children trapped inside. Including Lillian. Claire gasped. The visions vanished. Tears rolled down soot-covered cheeks on the ghost children surrounding her. We knock every year, Lillian whispered. But nobody answers anymore. Claire felt sick. They all died. Lillian nodded slowly. On Halloween, 1963. Claire remembered hearing something about a fire years ago. A boarding house accident. But nobody mentioned children. Nobody mentioned deaths. The town had covered it up. You can leave, Lillian said softly. Claire blinked. What? You listened. The other ghost slowly stepped aside. Fog shifted. And Maple Street appeared again at the end of the lane. Claire didn't hesitate. She ran harder than she ever had in her life. Past the houses. Past the fog. Past the final street lamp. And suddenly, noise returned. Cars. Music. Children laughing. Normal Halloween sounds. Claire collapsed near a curb sobbing. People stared at her strangely as she tried explaining what happened. But nobody believed her. Police searched Willow Lane that night. There was no Victorian house. No abandoned street. Only an empty overgrown lot surrounded by dead trees. Claire never forgot what she saw. And over time, she convinced herself maybe it had been a hallucination. Stress. Panic. Too many ghost stories. That's what she told herself. Until 1 year later. Halloween night. 8:17 p.m. Claire sat alone in her bedroom while rain tapped softly against the windows. Her parents were downstairs handing out candy. She hadn't gone trick-or-treating since last year. She never would again. Then came a knock at the front door. 3 slow knocks. Thunk. 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 Claire froze instantly. A horrible cold spread through the room. Downstairs, she heard her father open the door. Then silence. A few seconds later, her father called upstairs. Claire. His voice sounded confused. There's a girl here asking for you. Claire's blood turned to ice. Slowly, trembling, she stepped into the hallway and looked downstairs. Standing in the doorway beneath the porch light. Dot was Ava. Her best friend. Still pale from supposedly having the flu last Halloween. Still wearing the exact same white costume Lillian wore. And then Ava smiled. A blackened, burned smile. I'm sorry I left you alone last year, she whispered. Claire's stomach dropped. Because suddenly she remembered something impossible. A memory nobody else seemed to have anymore. Ava never got the flu. Ava disappeared last Halloween night. And nobody ever found her.